While you were away, the town of Capybara was sleeping. But as a new day dawns, we gain in kingdom prosperity, unlock sword warfare and create our first encampment. And receive our first quest for the royal court. This is Foundation, and I am Lord Bara. Let's kick it off with the building of the fort. The fort is being constructed next to the large mineral deposit. We've already prospected that, and although it was mostly stone, we still managed to find some iron. Iron, as you know, is an important resource in the construction of tools and weapons. So it makes sense for industrial buildings to be located around the mineral deposit as well. The fort, with a garrison or so of soldiers, makes it an excellent location both next to an industrial site and also the mineral deposit. That's two birds with one stone. Additionally, between the housing and the fortified walls of the town, there is a gap. And that is going to be a crucial element for providing additional security for the town. Soldiers will have their own road which they can use to enter and exit the town gates, and get easy and quick access to the fortified area. So if something needs their attention, they can quickly muster, make their way down the track and out of the gates. There we go, that's the main building of the fort constructed. Eventually the structure of the fort itself will form part of the fortified wall that surrounds the entire town. For now, that wall is simply wooden posts, but eventually it will be upgraded. We're not at those unlocks yet, so for the time being it's just going to sit as it is. What I want to do now is move on to building up some splendor. In case you don't know, splendor is required to level up the tier of the castle or any of the other monuments. So currently we're just at tier 1, the basic structures that you're allowed to purchase. But if I want to gain some additional building types or even additional functionality for the building, I'm going to need to level up. And you do that by adding parts that give you splendor. The build pieces that give you splendor have a little star in the bottom right of their icon. In this case, it's orange. I consider this here to be an interior perimeter wall for the fort. And because it's not going to be facing any direct assault in my mind, I can use a different kind of structure, which is also going to give me splendor, to create the illusion of an interior perimeter wall. And here I will also use it as storage, so I can add other elements that also give me splendor, like racks of tools or racks of weapons. There aren't any rules for this, I'm just doing what feels right. I could try to sandwich in as many of these as I could and really up the amount of splendor that I'm gaining, but I don't really feel the need to do that. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to increase splendor later down the line. All I really want to do at the moment is just get to tier 2. Once I'm there, I'll be able to start creating additional garrisons of troops. Because on the initial building of a fort or a castle, you are limited to 1 garrison. If anybody has a suggestion for what that very first garrison should be called, let me know in the comments. Ah, there we go. Kingdom tier 2. Now what we can do is go to the progression screen and unlock something from the tier 2 unlocks. And you can choose to go any way you want here, but what I want is a encampment. I'm choosing swords because it makes sense for me based on the resources that I'm producing in the town. But that will vary depending on what you have available on your map. It's going to be different for every playthrough. The reason that I want another soldiers division is so that I can start doing the missions. That's not going to be easy though, because soldiers are expensive. They have needs just like regular citizens, and also they cost money. They require a salary in order to make them work. The castle monument is definitely the most challenging monument to pursue if you're going to do a castle build. It's got a few moving parts which make it challenging. In some ways, it's easier than the monastery. You need less types of buildings. The resource management is less interconnected, it's less complicated. But it's more resource intensive, and it certainly costs a lot more money to run. In fact, the monastery doesn't cost money other than its normal upkeep. The soldiers requiring a wage in and of itself makes this an additional challenge. I would suggest, especially to new players, that if you are thinking about doing a castle build straight away, I know it's exciting. I know it seems like it's the most fun part if you're thinking about medieval towns and cities. You want to get straight to soldiers. I understand that. Of course I do. But I would suggest that if you're a new player, you wrap your head around the rest of the game mechanics first, because This might stop you out. You might end up getting frustrated, and you might end up banging your head against the wall and thinking, oh, this is not working out and this game's pretty trash. But if you stick with it, you'll figure out the intricacies of how the economy works, and then you'll be able to build a town that functions first and treat the castle, especially the end game of the castle, as end game content. I know it's not quite finished yet, but I can't hold it off any longer. I'll add some soldiers in. They're going to start needing money, but my economy can take it, so it's not a problem. And yes, I now have my first company of soldiers. And if I want a second company of soldiers, in this case it's going to be swordsmen, I need to build the sword encampment, and that's like its own individual building piece. You can use any part that you like for this, but I'm going to use one of these tents, and it's going to sit in this passageway that runs along the outside of the town. These building pieces have their own requirements, so they're also going to need a training dummy, which is where the soldiers are going to come and stand and whack it with a sword. Unfortunately, it can't be too far away. You can see here now the overall structure of the fort and how it's going to eventually integrate fully into this industrial area here. You can see it's already starting to reach around and make its claim on the area. Here we have the quest for the Royal Courtier. It's the principal quest for the castle monument. We're going to need things that we don't currently have available to build right now in order to complete that. But now that it's triggered, we can start working our way towards it. If you blink during the castle progression help topics, you might miss this. The castle itself requires its own transporters. Just like the warehouse or the granary, both the castle monument and the monastery monument have their own version of a warehouse. And in the case of the castle, it's going to store swords and bows and spears. And war rations, which is the additional need for promoted soldiers. Don't worry about that. What's important to remember is that if you don't have transporters assigned within the castle monument itself, you won't be able to either trade or use any weapons that you might be producing. That will do for the time being, I think. And I'll just say, if you have been, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have been, don't forget to leave a like. This has been Foundation, and I have been Lord Bara.